All right. Hello, 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 everyone, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I hope you all enjoyed the musical genius of Celia Cruz as you all were joining today. We are really, really excited to have you all here for a very, very special occasion. But before I really get started, I want to acknowledge two people. So first will be myself. My name is Dr. Tori Staten. I'm the VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity at the Chamber. It's really, really exciting to be here today and also to see all of these amazing squares and participants. Really excited to engage with you all today. I also want to acknowledge the amazing DEI coordinator at the Chamber, Serena Fulcher. If you could just wave and say hi, Serena.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you all are well. So excited to be here.
Awesome. We consider it such a delight to have you all here to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, to honor all of the rich and beautiful Hispanic heritage and cultures, and finally to learn how we can make and curate safe spaces for folks of Hispanic and Latina heritage all year long. We have two amazing speakers here to share with you all, and we want to make sure that you all get the opportunity to engage with each other. So one of those speakers is going to share their expertise with us, and the other one is going to lead us in a discussion where we can network and connect with each other. During this event, I want to encourage you to join these sessions as an active participant to connect with one another. You can use your voices. You can also use the chat box. Also join the conversation on social media. We have two hashtags that we're using, hashtag WeConnectTriangle, and then you can also follow us at Triangle DEI, that's TRIANGLE DEI, and at Raleigh Chamber. And share any insights you gain and any takeaways that you may have. All right. Now, I would like to introduce you all to our speaker, Cristina España, and I'm going to read her bio right here for you. All right. Cristina España is a Guatemalan born in Costa Rica, and she is the Deputy Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the Office of NC Governor Roy Cooper, supporting DEI leads of cabinet agencies, part of local and nationwide integration networks, and working for North Carolinians born outside the US, first, second, and third generations. Cristina was a career diplomat for Guatemala for 12 years and served in Raleigh, Atlanta, and Madrid. Cristina holds a master's degree in neuromarketing and a bachelor's in advertising from University Latina of Costa Rica, and formal studies in fine and contemporary arts in Costa Rica, Guatemala, California, and the European University in Madrid. One of her art pieces was displayed at NCMA and SECCA. Music, dance, writing, and art are a part of her family's daily life with her husband, Nathaniel Spurger, and their children. Everybody, let's welcome Cristina España. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Torres. Thank you so much for the space and for the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce. This is a great opportunity. And also Serena Fletcher, thank you for your support. And if it's okay, if we could stop sharing the screen, if that's okay with you, because I want to see your beautiful faces. Thank you so much. I would like to start by knowing if we have any Latinos in the house. You can just unmute yourself really quick and say what country are you represent, or if you're second generation, the country of your parents, of your third, your grandparents. I'm curious, just very casual. Thank you.
Peru.
Puerto Rico.
Ecuador.
El Salvador.
And now, who has traveled to Latin America? And any country that you really like, that maybe you're not Latino, but you really like that country? Great. So we started this conversation with salsa, and I think salsa is a great way to highlight our culture. You have a little bit of the African roots, and then you have the indigenous roots, and then you have the Spanish part, and it just becomes something beautiful. And that's what we have in Latin America. We're such a rich cultural place. Many countries are in Latin America, and if you choose only one country, it'll be very difficult to say, this is how the people of that country is. For example, I'm from Guatemala. In Guatemala, we have over 22 languages that we speak. And if you move around Guatemala, you'll find like the city is very different from the highlands, and then very different from where you have all the heritage from the Mayas in Tikal. And if you move through Latin America, that's what you'll find. And something beautiful about us as well is that you cannot say, this is the face of a Latin American. If you're gonna say, I'm gonna put one picture and it will be only one person, it's impossible. Because we have so many colors, so many kinds of people, so many diversity. And as I move into this space of DEI, I discovered that in Latin America, that is just part of our family. If we're coming, for example, a carne asada, and you see around the space, you have diversity and inclusion. And equity, you have it all, like that's already part of our culture. And that's something that I just like started thinking about, and I just thought it was very interesting. I know that this time around that we're all gathering here, we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. As you know, our governor proclaimed this month, as every year that he has done this for all of his terms since 2017. And before that, all the other governors did. It's between September 15 and October 15. Why? Because we have 7 countries that are celebrating Independence Day. You have Central America, you have Mexico, and you have Chile. Something that I always like to share, because I know people love numbers and love data. Here in North Carolina, we are 11% Latinos. And from that 11%, 57% are second and third generation. So it means that that heritage stays. I really like, and it just warms my heart to know that all of these children and grown-ups are still calling themselves Latinos, even though they are already born here. And as you know, thank you, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, Salvador, Guatemala, well, Mexico. I see that comment on the chat. But what I was going to say is that, why do we have a Heritage Month? I know we have different parties everywhere, and sometimes it's difficult to be everywhere because parties are happening everywhere, all over North Carolina, which is great. And that just that shows you that we are many Latinos in North Carolina, that North Carolinians are welcoming us, that they open the streets to us. For example, El Pueblo, they always have a very large festival downtown in Fayetteville Street. And it's just the whole street. And you see people from all over the world gathering and celebrating the Latino culture, which is great. Something else that I wanted to share around data is that we are 11% Latinos, but our children in our schools, 17% are Latinos. So with that, there's great movement, and with our governor's office, we have the Drive Task Force, for example, because it shows that when you have Black Americans, Latinos, Asians, refugees as educators educating the children, it's better for those children and for everyone. It's always best to have diversity on our educators. So that's something that we're working with a Drive Task Force and under our governor's office. Something else that I would like to share, and maybe all of you already know this group, but it's a wonderful group that we have that is called the Governor's Advisory Council for Hispanic and Latino Affairs. They meet every 4 months. And between those 4 months, they are creating recommendations. On November 9th, they're gonna be presenting their final recommendations. So you're all welcome to join. We're gonna have an in-person meeting, but it's also going to be online if you wanna see it online. Why is it so important? Because this is the voice of our people. This is what they think that we should be improving with education, public health, health, public safety, economic development, legislative and advocacy, leadership. And it's not only great for us as government to have this space for them and listen to them, but also for others. As you're thinking for other like you all, the Chamber of Commerce that I know, the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce that you know that you are including all groups, it's also an opportunity for you and for companies to come and go to this space and listen what the Latino community is saying. Latinos in NC are kind of new, but not. We've been here for many years, but let's say 30 years ago, we were not as many Latinos here. And this is when I like to recognize the work of some Latinos. Hi, Patricia, how are you?
Yes, actually, we did.
Okay, thank you. So I also like to recognize the work of Latinos that were here 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when the percentages was very small. And that's where you have the Latino Credit Union that opened 20 years ago, so Latinos could access bank accounts. Then you have the Centro Hispano. It was also more than 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Then you have Diamante, 20 years ago. Then you have the Latino Coalition also, Amexcan. And I can continue and share you names of organizations that have been here for so long. And for me, it's very important to recognize the work that they did, because back then we were not 11% or 17%. And I think about it with new groups that are coming into North Carolina that are only 3%, or they might be only 2 or 0.5%. So that's why it's so important for a governor and my role to also include others that are do not have their percentages as high as us Latinos. And I think it's also an opportunity for us Latinos to welcome them and say, you're coming here as refugees and we open arms to you and we work together. My role is a new role. It's a new, but it's not new at the same time. Before me, you had Mati Lasso, the wonderful Mati Lasso. A lot of you know her. And she worked for the Latino community for many years. And many, many, many years ago, when I was sharing about these groups that started, you have somebody called Nono Martinez. So what I'm sharing with you about North Carolina is that even though sometimes it looks kind of new, the work that we're doing, it's not. And that's what I like to recognize, all the people that were here before all of us that was working towards this. That's what I wanted to share with you all. I can talk about my role, but I know that it's not about my role that we're talking about, it's about Latinos. But something brief that I would like to say is that I'm here to represent all immigrants that are born outside of the US that are now North Carolinians. And it's first, second, and third generation. Why second? Why third? If we're thinking about the second generation, sometimes it's this middle generation that it's not on this group or the other. Sometimes second generations might not speak Spanish. It doesn't mean they're not Latinos. They're as Latinos as me. They have the same blood. They eat the same food. They hug everyone. They laugh. They're hard workers. So that's why it's so important that being Latino is more just than a language. It's a way of acting. It's a way of engaging with others. It's a way that we work. So it's also important for all of us in government, organizations, etc., to also think about those second generations that maybe they have parents that do not understand the system. And what about third generations? When we're thinking about the growth of wealth, it's kind of hard because you have the first generation that came here and it was very difficult. You just came with one bag and you build the world here. And sometimes you come and you don't understand anything. And it's just like, go and connect your electricity, connect gas, and everything is so difficult to understand for first generation. Then you have the second one, and they're like kids, and you have little children explaining to their mothers the cholesterol levels or how to open a bank account. And then you have great leaders with those second generations. But at the same time, is it fair for those children to be there advocating for their parents? Or should we change our systems and integrate language access so people that do not understand English can do that themselves. And we don't have to use those children. I know they're very smart and brave, but they're children. They should be children. And then third generations, what I was mentioning about the construction of wealth. So this is a very interesting conversation that we could have. There are some conversations that could be hard conversations, but are important for us to talk about. Some conversations that it's about everything that we bring to North Carolina and to the United States. A lot of immigrants, the first thing that they do, open a business. Why? Because it's the easiest thing to do. And people that come here, we just come with so much energy. If we come here to another country, and if you think about people that are fleeing their countries, they come here for a better life. So they're gonna work hard, they're gonna be good people, and they're just gonna like give it all, because that's why they flee the countries, to have a better life and to appreciate what is here for everyone. And I just wanna close this by saying that North Carolina, it's a great state. I love North Carolina. Everyone is kind, everyone is welcome. And I know that we still have to work with some challenges that we have. We recently, in our government, we have classes about bias that you might have. And it's very interesting, those classes, because they say, even if you think you don't have any bias, you always do. And it's very good to understand and to check yourself if you might be having a bias against young people, a bias against elders. You never know. And I know it's something that your brain does to like act quick, but it's also great to check ourselves. So we're not perfect, but I think that this is just a great place to live. And I always say to everyone, if you want to live in the best place, that'll be North Carolina. And we have a great governor. He's my boss. But every time that I listen to him talk, he's so wise and he knows the needs that we have, and he's honest. He's not going to say something just to put honey on your ears. He's very honest, and he does the work that needs to be done, and the office is a great office. So thank you for the space, and thank you for being here. I know that this is a very special month, and I appreciate everyone that is not a Latino that is in this conversation. And I appreciate Latinos, my brothers and sisters that are here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Give Cristina a hand. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Oh man, before we get to our discussion portion, I want to give our community a chance to ask Cristina any questions they may have. Feel free to unmute and use your voice, or use the hand raise feature in Zoom. If you do not know where that is, you can go to, I believe it's reactions, and under it say raise hand, and we'll answer it in order we receive it. You can also put it in the chat as well. So let's open up for questions, and I will facilitate that. Awesome. So the first question I see is from Doris. Is asking, just to understand, Cristina is representing all immigrants on the advisory board, and her second request is, could they have a contact number or an email?
Thank you. So I have 3 spaces where I move. One is my role, and that's to represent all immigrants that are born outside of the US, first, second, and third generation. So it means refugees, asylees, the Asian community, the African community, European community, etc. With that, what I discover is that some immigrants might have needs, and all of us have knowledge. So how do we open those spaces for immigrants that have that knowledge that could be great for our state? So that's one role. And with that role, I'm also part of an office. It's called ONA Network, Office of New Americans. And there are 17 states that they either have a person like me in the state, or they already established an Office of New Americans. That's one role, one part. The other part that I was mentioning you about is the council, the Advisory Council for Hispanic and Latino Affairs. That's for Latinos, and that's a council that I support. And the other space that I move is on the DEI. So I support all the agencies with our DEI leads. So it's like 3 different spaces, but my experience is that they all gather. They all have to very, it's an opportunity to be here, but because what I'm seeing is that even though those 3 spaces are different, they'll interact, and I can bring information from here to there and from there to here, and then it's just something wonderful. So I love the DEI space, yes. And then my email, of course, I'll write it in the chat. It's very easy. It's cristina.espana@nc.gov, but I put it on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? I'm checking to see if anyone has raised their hand or typed in the chat. I try to wait at least 10 seconds, just in case anybody has a question pop up.
And
All right.
the last thing that I can say is that if you ever think about engaging with other groups, please reach out to me. I'll be really happy to connect you. And if you're thinking about language access, I also have some information around language access. What I can tell you about is that I've been going throughout the state performing listening sessions. Language access is not the solution, but it's the door. Because how can somebody access something if they don't even understand what the resource is about? Yeah, but thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Cristina. Are there any more questions? All right, so as we head into our discussion and networking portion, we have some discussion questions that we've kind of pre-prepared for you, and also just an opportunity for you all to engage with each other. And so this is the time to
Recording in progress.
Turn on your camera and really interact with us, because we really want to see your faces, talk to you all, hear where you all are from, and then hear what you all are doing in your communities, in your workspaces, and in your lifestyles as well. And so we have another great person and treat to lead our discussion portion. So as you prepare to answer these questions, again, state your name and also the company or organization you're representing. And so now I'm going to introduce our moderator, Adriana Andrade. Throughout her extensive experience in public relations, community affairs, and strategic planning, she was instrumental in achieving community partnerships and community engagement goals at the Northside Hospital Cancer Institute and the Georgia Hispanic Health Coalition. While at Northside, she set records in the organization for reaching underserved communities to have access to breast cancer and prostate cancer screenings. She has worked as a producer, writer, and on-air talent for the COX Communications and Univision Atlanta. Through her role as executive producer, community affairs director for Precise Consulting, she helped corporations support local and national community initiatives, as well as lead the video production of national initiatives for organizations such as United Spinal Association. As a community empowerment director at Univision Atlanta and Raleigh, she hosts a weekend public affairs program focused on issues of special relevance to the Hispanic community. The format of the show will bring viewers more in-depth analysis and reports of the week's most important news events. Adriana also serves her community in various capacities with organizations such as being a lead Atlanta program graduate, former board member of the Women's Division of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, a board member of the Wheels of Happiness Foundation, and a trustee of the Gwinnett County Public Library. In 2022, she was recognized as one of the 35 under 35 most influential young professionals in Gwinnett. Everybody, I'm excited to welcome Adriana Andrade.
Thank you so much. And I am having a little bit of technical difficulties, so sorry if it kind of goes out. I try to move to a corner where it seems like I have the best signal, but so I know Cristina from years ago when she was in Atlanta, and now I'm happy to reconnect in Raleigh and North Carolina. And I'm new to the North Carolina area, and I'm happy to be able to learn about these foundations. And I'm happy to go back and forth. The unique thing about my position being in Atlanta and in Raleigh is that I can take ideas from, I'm in Atlanta, I'm like, why are we not doing this in Raleigh? And I'm in Raleigh, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a great idea. We should bring this to Atlanta. Very similar. Obviously, Atlanta has a larger Latino population. Here, their growth has been, so there are different times, but a lot of things kind of run through cycles. So we have seen issues come up that we thought they were long past, that weren't gonna, that they will dealt with. So that's kind of where I'm a liaison to the community for Univision. Univision's goal is to empower the community through education. We want to make sure we keep them informed in, health, what's going on in health, and civic engagement. We want to make sure that they know what they're voting for, that they know their rights, and that ultimately everything in politics affects their everyday life. And one way or another, they're going to be touched. And so they can exercise their power and their right to vote. And so we're going to start with some discussions around Hispanic Heritage Month. And what we wanted to hear from all of you is, how do you celebrate Hispanic heritage in your workplace? Through what here in Univision, what we are actually doing tomorrow is that we are going to all volunteer. Our focus this year was food insecurity. So at each of our markets at a national level, each market has chosen a nonprofit to work with, to volunteer, to either go and sort food, or we have in Atlanta, what we're going to do is we are making a donation to a school so that we can offset the cost of students who have a balance with the school lunches. And in Raleigh, we're making a donation to forget the exact name, I think it's at North Carolina. I'll look it up, but we're making a donation and we're also volunteering. So we'd love to hear from some of you. If you you can write in the comments what your workplace is doing or how you celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, or you can also have the raise the hand icon so that we can hear from you. Let's see. And I guess, Tori, you'll let us know if somebody's raising their hand, because I don't know how to.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking in the chat for anybody who raises their hand or unmutes. Awesome. Al, I see you. Go ahead.
I'll break the ice. So I work for Wake County government. So that's Raleigh's county. And we just have started our process of forming our DEI committees, and really started to look at how we do recognize the diversity in our community, not only in our staff, but in our community itself. And frankly, we had trouble this year with trying to come up with what we were going to do this year for Hispanic heritage. So I thought, when I saw this, I thought, oh, I'm going to connect in here and just soak in everything I can so that I can bring it back and make sure that we have something next year. So it was really important for me personally as a Puerto Rican that, that I kind of take some responsibility in my workplace and bring back some thoughts and some ideas forward to help Wake County figure out how they celebrate. So can't wait to hear from everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to share what they've done, or maybe not this year? I think Ines.
I will. Hi,
Brenda?
hi, this is Brenda Clegg. I am the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer for Chatham County Health Department. And I also work closely with the Chatham County HR department as well. And this year we've done a couple of things. I'm the first DEI officer. So, just trying to figure out how we're going to navigate this and make sure that we are being inclusive and belonging. And one of the things that we did is actually looking at Spanish Heritage Month for our board of directors. we actually served, a Spanish meal from one of our local Spanish restaurants. We also brought in pastries from a bakery that is Mexican owned. And so we really pushed for everyone in our newsletter to, in the Pittsboro, Siler City area, please, during this month, support all local businesses, Latinx businesses during this month. And then, in addition to that, we have an equity committee, and the equity committee is volunteering with the moms and babies and helping them with their concerns from the health department. So that's kind of how we've done it. We've also, all of our committees during this month, I forgot we had a salsa making contest as well,
Yeah.
doing, just trying to come up with ways to keep our employees engaged. And so we did that as well. And it was also, we added in guacamole because people said, oh, I can make the best guac. So we was like, okay, let's make it guac and salsa. So we did that as well. And so that's, we're just trying new things. I look forward, like Al, to hear from anyone else, to hear what you're doing. And, just trying to make sure that we are engaging everyone within that, the employees, but also reaching out to the community as well.
Awesome. Inez, I saw you.
Yeah, so hello everybody. My name is Inez Garcia. I work for P3 Consulting. This is an engineering company. And very interesting in this company because this is the first time that we celebrate Hispanic heritage. We start this year implementing sustainability protocols and do the GRI reporting. So we said, okay, what we will do for all of us? And it was a very simple exercise. We start to call all the Latinos around the world that we have in P3. So we found Latinos in Germany, Serbia, Mexico, Colombia, and we decided to create a RICO meeting when everybody shared one slide with tell your story, tell us your dreams, how you are, where you are, and how everything starts. So it was very interesting to see how people dreams lead them to study, to move to different countries, and right now they are successful in the way that they develop their own talents and they serve their communities and they are doing something good for their own lives and their families. So that's the way that we celebrated this year. Very nice.
I'll share. My name is Maribel Jeffries, Maribel Jeffries. Originally from Puerto Rico. I was raised in the States. I am the director for the cosmetology program at Wake Tech for the continuing education side. And so basically, if I'm honest, I will say it's never too late, right? But this year I've been so busy wearing so many different hats. I've not had the chance to really focus on making our presence known within the college, even though my program is basically all Hispanic. My students are pretty much all Hispanics during the day. We did last year participate by having the students create different meals or dishes and bring them in. We would share by putting some of the dishes in our staff break room, just so other people in the college would be able to, I guess, sample some of our authentic foods. But we haven't done anything this year. It's not too late though, so I'm so excited that I'm hearing all the different ideas. So it's something that I plan on doing before the month is up.
Thank you, Maribel.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I mean, I think food is a big staple to our culture, and all the sharing food ideas are great, and I think they'll show the diversity of something. And what I really I've seen other companies do is that they'll invite somebody to speak on, and just to bring more awareness to just more information, education to go beyond the stereotypical Latino model that you might see in the media, And I know in the past, we've also highlighted, different Latinos that are either on the ground, hands-on, first responders, or just, people who are doing the day-to-day work and helping in different organizations. And then we've also highlighted Latinos who have made it kind of like in the general market, because I think all of that just kind of shows the whole scheme of where we are, where we're not just, as Cristina was speaking, different generations or in different spots. And I think there's just so many ways. And Cristina has her hand up, so I'll let her kind of let us know what they've done.
Thank you, Adriana. And something else that I wanted to share is that it's an opportunity to celebrate, but also to bring some awareness to the lack of resources that some of the community might have. One of them is the access to health. And you know that with COVID-19, it was a big, it was a tragedy for the Latino community. Thankfully, it just brought some light into the situation that it's there. But preventive access for health is still not so accessible. And I know many counties do have services. I know consulates do bring like Adriana did that many years ago in Atlanta, when she brought health services to the Latino community. But I also wanted to share that some of that is also an opportunity to highlight some of the lack of access that some of the community might have. But thank you.
Thank you, Cristina. Is Shayla?
Yeah, I go by Shay. I'm Shay. I work with Care Access, and talking about that, what Care Access does, we're a healthcare company, but we're decentralized clinical research company. So what we do is we bring clinical research to areas that are underrepresented. And our company is really involved with the Bridge program. And if anybody is not familiar with that, it's bridging the gap between making clinical research an all-inclusive, because unfortunately, there's underrepresented people in research, and our company works very, very hard to make sure everybody's included. And we actually go into the communities and open offices in small rural communities, even, so that way everybody can take, can be involved. But that's what we do. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And I've seen, that's great that you guys are doing that. And I think that brings like a trend where you are experts in your field. So what, as we go into Hispanic Heritage Month and next year probably, or, as you think about it coming up, what the gaps of access are, or what are the needs. So maybe it's a time to highlight that. Because I know, for example, the American Heart Association reached out to me because although they have a CPR program that runs throughout the entire year, what they're doing is they're highlighting that during Hispanic Heritage Month, they wanted to bring more information, education to Latinos, because there is a gap access to being certified in CPR. And so they saw that the rates of people dying because they didn't receive CPR were high in the Latinos, because people weren't trained in it. So even though I was like, oh, this is a great, program, and they're like, yeah, it's actually year round. We just are focusing, and that's such a great idea. I mean, when you might have a year round program that's not getting a lot of attention, and when you go into a specific month like Hispanic Heritage Month, it's a good time to push that and highlight that. And Janine has her hand up, so I'll give her a chance to speak. Thank you, Janine.
Hi, thanks. So I am from Marbles Kids Museum. And although I wasn't involved with a lot of the programming, like the specific programming, I was digging around trying to find the documents so that I didn't misspeak or miss something, but oh gracious, now I just made it disappear. Oh, technology is not my thing. Oh shoot. you know what? Let me raise my hand again.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And I think there's somebody in the comments. Davida says, I work for Lenovo, and we're in the middle of our 6th annual Global Month of Service. This year, we have 120 projects across the globe organized by our employees. Tomorrow, we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with a panel on Diaspora Unidos, Inclusivity for a Stronger Nation, hosted by Hola Hispanics of Lenovo Association. And, you know, that's another thing that I've noticed, another way to celebrate. It's where the Latino or Hispanic employee resource group will put something together for the entire company. Because sometimes, you know, it depends on, everybody's so busy, and, you know, and incorporating something else sometimes takes a lot of work. So there are things that you can do, where a service day, or just bringing awareness to it. I like I said, as experts in your field, or if you're passionate about something. For example, this month is, Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well. And one of the facts is that even though it's not the most common cancer among women, Latino women, it has the highest mortality rate, because Latino women are not going to get checked when they should be getting checked. They go after when it's too late, you know. So that's what so there's always kind of like a way to focus whatever your expertise is in, or whatever your passion is in, or your focus. And giving back, again, is such a wonderful opportunity. Like Cristina was saying, not just, there's always something fun to do, and we can always do something fun, but there's also an opportunity to bring an awareness to an issue that you're passionate about. And I think Janine has her document up. I see your hand up again.
I do, thank you. So just reading through the list of what the plan was for acknowledging, and recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month, we have had a variety of different things going on in the museum. For example, we started out with a person who she and her students came to perform Hispanic folk dancing at the beginning of that was, I guess, on the 18th of September. We had a mariachi band come on over one of the weekends. A Takiri Academy, I'm not familiar with them, but they came, and they had children from 3 to 67 years old that were participating in our program. We've had bilingual story times. El Centro España has been helping us with that. And one of our monthly programs is called Gordon Gourmet. And so we were tailoring what we were fixing for Gordon Gourmet to fit. I'm sure there was some guacamole in there and some salsa perhaps, but I'm sure they go more creative than that too. Actually, I think that the last one is happening tonight. But yeah, so we've got kind of a variety of things, to get the children involved, and obviously up to the elders.
Yeah, I know, that's wonderful. And I love that you're involving the kids, and that you have some programming for the kids, because for Latino kids, it's so important that they feel represented, that they see themselves, that they see something like not just like in their secret world at home, but out in the, in the general market, in their world. And also for non-Latino kids, I think it'll just open their eyes and their minds to something new. And that way, when they see it again, it's not like what is it, what are you doing, what is that? And it's not weird, it's different, but they're learning. And I think there's only so much as parents that we can do and involve the kids in and teach them. I have 2 kids, and I can't teach them about all cultures, so I do enjoy when they have different like awareness months or different holidays, or when they can find things at the library, because I think it's a community work of having on this journey of equity and diversity and inclusion. It's not a one-man thing, but we can, if anybody else wants to share what your company has done to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we can move on to the next question. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So what are the specific ideas we have to incorporate that we've learned today into our workplace culture? So if you haven't done, or if you're looking for ideas and something like just sparked in your mind, would you share with us, please? Any ideas for maybe next year or for the next few days that you can incorporate into workplace? Again, you can just raise your hand or just write in the comments. Come on, we have a lot of people here, guys. Okay.
I'll share.
Go ahead.
So one of the things we've really been working on at the chamber is doing things throughout the year that's not just translating things in Spanish. I think we feel like if we translate things in Spanish, that we will have better access to the Hispanic and Latina community, and it is not working, right? I think we are trying to be very intentional about our outreach as well, with our partnerships with organizations that serve Hispanic and Latina people, that advocate for issues that affect specifically Hispanic and Latina people. We want to, again, not just think, oh, if we make materials in Spanish, we will attract or we will reach out to Hispanic and Latina people. That's not exactly how it works. And so making sure that we're connecting to the community and also proving ourselves to be trustworthy to the community as well is something that we're really working on.
Thank you, Tori. And I think that is something that I, just working with, becoming trustworthy. The Latino community is going to work with those entities that they trust, and building a relationship with and positioning yourself in the Latino community. Sometimes it will start with working in a collaboration. I know when I first started to kind of help the hospital come into the Latino community, I worked a lot with the consulates, because the consulates are their piece of their country, in the US. And so when I had an event and it was just the hospital, they're like, yeah, I don't know. But if you have the consulate, if you have a Spanish network or a radio station, somebody that already has the trust of the community, you're going to have a lot more people engaged and involved and showing up. And like Tori said, it's not just translating, it's also having somebody there who's going to be able to connect with them, who's going to be able to assess their barriers, which might be different than the general market. And I'm going to give Latoya a chance to talk because she has her hand up.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm with Communities and Schools of Wake County, and we connect with students in 6 middle schools. And then we also have a presence in 4 public housing communities. And so we are very intentional about seeking representation for our students so that we can expand experiences and exposures. And our team has been amazing in terms of finding staff members. But as we look to reach further into the community, I would love any guidance or recommendations in terms of making sure that we do have more inclusive Latino representation. We're seeking out ERGs within companies to connect with them to say, hey, listen, we would love for our students to be able to see themselves in 20 years in a skin and an intelligence that reflects their own. And how can we make those connections? And so I guess my greater question is, how do I make those connections so that our students can have the best representation possible?
Thank you, Latoya. And Tori, I don't know if the chamber has an ERG list, or is there like a advisory board within Latinos?
Yeah, so we don't have an ERG list, but we do have a collection of businesses that are run by Hispanic and Latinx folks. I'm happy to connect you to some of those folks, and we have some partnerships that we've been working with, and I'm glad to connect you all to those people as well. so that again, you can kind of come up and strengthen your plan with regards to showing representations for Hispanic and Latinx folks, but also getting that adequate representation that you were speaking about, Latoya. It's good to see you, by the way. And so I'm happy to connect you to some folks as well.
And,
And I'll add to that. Oh, go ahead, Cristina.
Yeah, something that I can share with you, Latoya, is Latinos, we're not, well, maybe I am, but it's not very common to be used to the virtual world or to the email world. We really like person-to-person connections. So advice that I can give you, if there are any festivals, anything that is happening, and you can be there. I always, when I went to the consulate, for example, I always did things like quinceañeras or eating a tamal with them. And it might seem like nothing is happening, but something is happening. Because when you eat, when you dance, when you see the children, and when you connect from the human side, that's when they trust you. And I know a pastor told me, when I thought that I earned their trust, I didn't. And then I had to wait a little longer. And then I did. And when I did, it lasts forever. But something that I can say is that they really appreciate, or we really appreciate to see the human side of an entity. And if you have Latino students and you could maybe go to their homes, listen to the parents, and maybe have an interpreter with you and knowing that you're doing the effort. And at the consulate, I remember that we used to have Cure Americas doing health services for our community. And there were many volunteers that didn't speak Spanish, but they were making the effort and they had the love for the community. And sometimes even if you don't speak the language, but if they feel your love and your passion, they'll trust you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina. And again, I will make myself available as well. Univision being a household name, having been in the generations of Latino families, we take that very seriously, and we always do our part to connect, to help the community. We have also the Univision Foundation, and this is nationwide, but specifically, we want to make sure that we're connected with each one of our local markets. And something that we established first off is working with the consulates. And even I said that the Univision seems to be the Latino embassy, because we get all kinds of calls. We will get calls from like, I don't know, I'm feeling sick, I don't know what to do, to where I should go, or because they trust us. And we have received calls of, let me see, what was the last one? Oh my gosh. Oh, this man who didn't know what to do because he had 2 strokes in 2 months, and he was able to work after the first stroke, but was not able to work after the second stroke. And so we're able to call, and because we are very proactive in keeping relationships that will help the community in education, in civic engagement, in financial literacy, and in healthcare. So we were able to connect with the hospital where he had been seen, so that we can make sure that he has follow-up care. We were able to communicate with the consulate to see what kind of support they were able to bring to him. There are different barriers of transportation, language, just education, or even just work hours. I know when we were at the hospital, we had to switch the time when we had the free screenings, because people weren't going to miss work, even if it meant getting a free cancer screening. So it's talking with them and not to them, with the community. And I was like, oh, I already first, when I started, I was like, I know this is what we need to do. And I was like, this is going to be perfect. And we're like, oh yeah, and you've probably seen, if you work with the Latino communities, that when you think like this is going to be the perfect plan, if you're not speaking with the community, if you're not really having a connection with them, like Cristina mentioned, then it's going to be hard, because if they think you're not listening to me, then you don't really know what my problem is. So we get calls all the time at the network. And so we're constantly working to acquire resources, and we're also supporting different organizations that support the Latino community. So if, I'm the community empowerment director, so not to help the community connect with resources, but also to help the general market and organizations connect with the community. If you have a passion for whatever topic it is, if we don't have a project for it already, we'll create it, because we don't want to leave one stone unturned if it means that it's going to help our community.
And something that I can share from Univision is that it's just part of the culture. Some Latino homes will have TV on. And sometimes with cell phones, it's a little bit difficult to compete with the attention. But the Latino families, they'll be having dinner and the television is on. And I had the experience that sometimes they'll say, I saw it in Univision. So yes, Adriana, that's a very good challenge to earn trust from the community.
Thank you, Cristina. And I think one thing to understand is that they're not watching sometimes the local channels for entertainment, but rather because they have to, because they need to, because that is how they will find out what's going on, what they need to do, what they can't do, what resources are available, or what issues they could be facing. And then, so we're going to move on to the next question, which is, how do we plan to honor and celebrate Hispanic heritage and cultures year round? So we've given a ton of ideas, and I know, Al, I hope you got at least one or two that are going to be serving you. So if some of you would like to share, like maybe some ideas that you've kind of just now, muchas ideas. But if you feel free to share, raise your hand if you have plan to honor, or if you've had any other ways to honor Hispanic heritage or other cultures year round. Go ahead, Al. Thank you.
Well, I think there was a good idea in the chat talking about how the Latin community is made up of dozens of nations. So it's not a small number of nations. That we're very diverse. We're very different in ways that we do things. And I think a good way to do that is to be able to have those times of year, like when monumentous occasions happen in those countries, to highlight those times and those people, the legends, the people that are so crucial to the different to those different nations and those different flavors of Latin, that we can highlight those and have some kind of recognition during those times, and those times happen throughout the year. So I think that's one way that we can really kind of not only represent Latinos throughout the year, but also really specify the different cultures that make up the Latino community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Al. And there is more of a push forward to learn more about the subcultures, and I think just a lot of people, and the majority of the community in the U.S. is from Mexico, but we have a lot of growing communities, especially now with Venezuela, the political situation going on. We've had so many people from Venezuela coming into the United States and many other different countries, and I think that we're kind of learning more of their culture. And I just had somebody in studio last week, but this is more of also the Mexican culture, where I had people from other South American countries or other Central American countries kind of say, oh, no, we're not, we don't celebrate Dia de los Muertos because that they're worshiping death. And I was like, no, that's not what it is. So even within the Latino community, there's misconceptions, there's a misunderstanding of some cultural celebrations. And so I invited him so he could explain really what it is, what is the cultural significance, it comes from the Aztecs even, where they kind of remember and celebrate. And it also, like I was familiar with Dia de los Muertos because in the region from Peru that I'm from, we celebrate Dia de los Muertos where we remember loved ones that passed and kind of remember some things that they liked and just have their pictures and talk about them in some moment to just remember them. And so, but because of the way it's celebrated in Mexico or because they had the Catrinas, there was a misconception from other countries. So I thought it was interesting to use also those events to educate each other. And again, like I said before, the more that we talk about it, the more that it's not a taboo or it's, it's an issue, then it just becomes part of the general culture. So love that the museum, the Kids Museum, and I don't know much in Raleigh, but I know in Atlanta, a lot of the libraries, the local libraries, make sure that they highlight stories, bilingual stories, so they have bilingual story time. And also we have, as a network, been invited to different schools and workspaces to talk about what are some of the issues that we notice in the different communities. And also just talk about culture and what Univision is doing and how we're reaching the community. And if nobody else wants to share right now, then I'll toss it back to Tori.
Awesome, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I have really, really, really enjoyed this discussion. From learning about the resources from Cristina that are available to hearing from Adriana and her experiences at Univision. I think it's awesome to hear from all of us as well, and not only the fun stuff and acknowledging aspects of culture like food and music, but also we want to make sure we're acknowledging some of the specific issues that Hispanic and Latina people face. We want to make sure we're uplifting the voices of Hispanic and Latina folks in our communities and in our workspaces. And then we want to make sure we're advocating for a world where Hispanic and Latina folks are safe to be themselves. I think that's really important, and that's what we're all striving to do. And I love this. I love what Cristina said. We're talking about connecting with the humanity of folks. That's really important. I think all of us kind of felt that theme as we talked about ways to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And so thank you both, Adriana and Cristina, again, for your expertise. This has been such an amazing conversation. As Al said, we're walking away with mucho ideas that we can implement in this next week, in this next couple years. And I love that we're thinking about ways to celebrate and honor, again, Hispanic heritage. I want to bring light to an event coming up that we have, the Courageous Conversations, on November 1st. It will be featuring the NCSU Global Training Initiative, and they'll be speaking on culture, identity, inclusion. It will be a virtual event, and so please, if you would like to register, please reach out to us. We would love to send you the link. And also, I want to thank all the Triangle DEI Alliance members, the Pioneer members, the City of Raleigh and Wake County, the Trailblazer members, that's BASF, Bank of America, Credit Suisse, Coastal Federal Credit Union, District C, the Diversity Movement, DPR Construction, Green Resources, LexisNexis, Pinnacle Financial Partners, Red Hat, RTI International, S&P Global, and Wolfspeed. Thank you to all of our leader and ally investors as well, which you can see listed here. And lastly, thank you everybody for joining us, for connecting with us today. We hope that you all have an amazing day, an amazing Hispanic Heritage Month, and all year round. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful.
And I left my information in the chat just in case you all have any questions or want to connect with the community or want to learn more about the things that Univision does year round. We have Contigo. Contigo is my program, which means with you in the community. And we have a sponsorship program for scholarships where we give scholarships to Latino students. We also recognize teachers throughout the year. And we're going to have Angeles, which is where we're going to recognize people who are underground, working with the community and kind of just putting that day-to-day hard work to help our community members. So if your BRG or your organization wants to go more in depth into one of those topics, be happy to talk to you. My pleasure. Thank you again for the Raleigh Chamber for hosting us, and thank you everybody who participated. And this was wonderful, my first event, and I hope to see you guys in Raleigh soon. I'll be there next week.
Yes,
So,
we can't wait to see you.
yeah, you too. I'll come visit you guys. Thank you, Cristina.